The sniper shot the driver, shot the engine out, also shot the driver in the legs. Somebody else ran across the road unarmed. It was like, uh-huh. Then they started shooting at us with a machine gun. We took care of that again. And I started screaming for my team leader, like, hey, Pete, you see that? Pete, come here. I just shot this dude. And he's like, good job. Keep doing your job.
Can you tell everybody about Adid?
Yeah, Muhammad Farah Hassan Adid. He was, his son was a Marine.
I did.
U.S. Marine, and he was over there. And then he went back over to take over.
Yeah, Adid, his son, Adid was a warlord in Somalia. His son was a Marine, came to the U.S., became a United States Marine, and then went back to Somalia to take his dad's job, correct?
Yeah. He had gone into hiding when they tried the AC-130 on his family compound or something. He went into hiding. So when we went over there, it was like one of those, I don't know, how do we find the dude? Send people out, use other agencies, try to find him. It's not like you fit in much over there, It's kind of a particular look of people, and it's hard to fit in. So working that network, whoever was doing that at the time, I was just a young kid. All I wanted to do was run around and break stuff and shoot things, I didn't pay attention to much at that time in my life. The briefing was shit. Muhammad Adid was just a warlord that had power at the time, right? I mean, you got to hold power over there. So he had his little minions around him, and then around them, and they kept their minions in check. But they're all hungry for power over there, because to them that means I'm on top. I get everything I want. So,
and Adid was the warlord in charge. He was holding all of the food coming from the U.S. to feed. There's obviously a starvation problem over there.
The good clans. So there are different clans over there. So it's kind of a clan warfare. Adid was one clan. The Habit Gader clan was another, maybe, or he was in the Habit Gader. I barely remember the clan names, but I remember there was a road that when you cross that road, it was all bad. When you cross the road coming this way, you had to be careful because all the good people lived over here, And it wasn't always easy to determine when you cross that road. So people were always screaming, whatever, February 24th Road or whatever. I don't remember the name of the road, but it was that distinct, like a moat in the middle. And this side was taking care of their own people and feeding them, and this side was starving to death. And he was trying to starve out the other clans so he could own it all. And we didn't like that, For whatever reason, we didn't like that. When he attacked the Marine convoy, it kind of set it off.
Well, before we get to that, I mean, before it all really kicked off, what were you guys doing over there? Were you getting out in town? Were you getting boots on the ground?
Yeah, we did signature flights like twice a day just to desensitize when we do a hit, because every time we took off at night, headlights would be flashing on the hills, like to let people know. I mean, they were watching us. So when we took off, it couldn't be just for hits. So we had to desensitize them. So at least twice a day at different times, we'd pick up and just fly the city, drop in low, come back up, pop around like we're doing hits. So when it was a real hit, they'd be like, well, maybe they're just doing the same thing. We did a lot of that. We did 4 or 5 hits up to the main 3 October one, which were, combat to people on TV, to me, everybody else. The good guys come in, we make some noise, the bad guys lose, we come back, high five, tell stories. It's all great. I mean, that was good for 4 missions, which were boring missions of going after this, the first one I think was a UN compound that were dirty. Like was this a confidence target that we hit? Because it was former UN guys, and it was almost a funny target, like weird. And then there was just dirty UN people that were taking equipment, so somebody turned them in. Then the next one was like, I don't know, some cop or something. Then it moved up. They were moving up the ladder trying to find who knew who. And so I think the 5th hit when we got his money guy, Muhammad Atta, that was our VI. It turned into a VI right in town. The sniper shot the driver, shot the engine out, also shot the driver in the legs. Didn't really know at the time. They bailed, ran into a house. We roped down. They roped down and chased him in. And then they called us in because we were still on track. And we roped in. I know our team roped in right in the middle of an intersection. Immediately came under fire from down the street. So me and another guy took off running, like close ambush, right? Assault through. It was about 100 yards, We ended up about halfway down that alleyway before we realized this is a bad idea and jumped into a doorway. And I turned around, the entire team's back behind us, behind a pile of rocks. Like, man, we fucked up. Now we're up here So that was a firefight. People kept feeding. Once we took care of that guy with that machine gun, somebody else ran across the road unarmed. It was like, Then they started shooting at us with the machine gun. We took care of that again. Somebody else ran across the road. It was like, they're unarmed, Finally figured out they're feeding the machine gun and they know our rules of engagement, So we didn't let that happen again.
What were the rules of engagement?
You can't shoot anybody without a weapon, and a threat. So, you can't shoot anything that's not a threat. So if nobody has a weapon in their hand, they're not a threat.
Okay.
But to me, they were feeding the weapon, right? It's like a crew serve weapon. So I just had to stop that. It kept happening, and sooner or later it was going to be us. So I ended up not letting people cross the street anymore. It was bold and ballsy people. There was a lady all decked out in the black, dress and covered up in the face and gloves, and she'd be walking down the street in the middle of a firefight like she's going to the market. I'm like, what's this lady doing, man? I guess they live in this shit, And then she points us out. And they start shooting at us again. I'm like, okay, we're going to have to draw. I can't let this go on. So I ended up pulling out beanbag rounds and chasing her off, and then I get called across the street to pull guard, and I got to pull guard on Osmanado, and then we took fire on that house, and then the Black Hawk came in and dropped one wheel on the roof of the helicopter, the parapet, people climbing up the tire and getting out. And that was my first engagement. I was on the second floor. We were the last team out, so we were pulling guard for the team going before us, climbing into the helicopter. I saw a guy across the street pop out with an AK and aim it up. And I'm like, whoa, okay. And I took a breath, and it jammed on him. So he was like messing with it. And I remember just thinking, okay, red dot, and boom. I either shot him right in the head or whatever. He disappeared in the room. His weapon flew out the window. And I was like, I started screaming for my team leader. Like, hey, Pete, you see that? Pete, come here. I just shot this dude. And he's like, good job. Keep doing your job. And took off. It was just who Pete was. And I ended up moving to the roof to climb onto the helicopter. And it was one of those under fire things. I'm the last guy off the roof climbing up, the wheels spinning. It shouldn't be spinning. It should be locked. I'm trying to get up. People are pulling me up by my kit and pull me in. And I made it out of that. I'm like, oh my God, that was crazy. Like,
was that your first kill? The guy on the roof?
Yeah.
So that was exciting for you.
It was. Like, I got to do my job, right? It wasn't a target. I got to do my job. I stopped him from shooting somebody. It was like a perfect thing,
Any hesitation at all?
No, I took a breath. Like, I don't want to miss was my hesitation. Not, it's a human, and he's just doing what I'm doing, right? He's fighting for what he thinks is right. It was just training, right? Training. Red dot, pull the trigger. I didn't even think about it. I was excited when I hit it. Like, I actually did it. And then I got excited. Like, hey, come look at what I did, And it was across the street. He didn't see anything. He's like, good job. Keep doing your job. Like, okay, I guess that was boring, I don't know. And I was still high-fiving that shit, I was still high-fiving that stuff. There was more dead people on that one, the bad guys. I don't think we even had any wounded on that one still. Maybe a ranger had gotten hit in a plate somewhere else, pulling outer security. But then I thought, oh, that's combat, That was combat. That was crazy. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know where I was getting shot from. It was all just, you could die in a second, you have no idea. And so that was my vision of combat, And then our next and last hit was 3 October.
Hey everybody, I'm Shawn Ryan. Click here to subscribe to the Shawn Ryan Show YouTube channel for the hottest and most compelling interviews that you will not see anywhere else. I've also made a playlist of all the previous SRS episodes so they're easy to find. You can find that right here.